Action!
So, hey guys, I'm here with Jim Jolliffe. It's really exciting to have Jim with me today because we've had a similar career. We're at the same agency and we've had a similar kind of like relatively long career shooting commercials. He's worked with some of the best directors in London and I must say I'm a bit jealous of his career.
Well, nice to be here to have a little chat.
Yeah,
Should we get
you're
into
entirely
it
welcome, yeah. So
where do we start?
let's start at the beginning. So let's go back to 1973. You pop out as an Ox.
Yeah.
And then you didn't do very well at school. Did you have any?
No, shit at school.
Were you dyslexic or anything?
I think I probably was, but
it wasn't discovered back then, was it?
It wasn't discovered back
Did you
then,
find when you got a word processor and you could suddenly organise things better than hand? Because my handwriting,
I got into computers when they came out, ZX81s and Spectrums
same my period as well. Yeah,
I kind of got into that, but I think now kids go to school and the teachers straight away learn whether they're quite hands-on, what's the word, or whether they're better at listening or better. The ways
the way they're taking information, so kinetic or sight
exactly.
or
And we'd never had any of that,
Yeah.
And I'm definitely a hands-on kind of.
Yeah. You got to work it out in physical space to remember it. Yeah, I'm a bit like. I mean, that's
talking about that earlier.
that suits the DOP very well. So going back to because you said you started quite young. Do you have a memory of being moved by cinema at an early age?
I was always into. I mean, I sort of grew up in quite a creative household. My dad actually worked in advertising for a bit as a copywriter, but then became a cartoonist. And my sisters are very good musicians, even though they're not as a job, just quite a musical family. Except for my mum, she was very different. She was a criminal lawyer, so.
Oh wow.
Kind of the balance between my dad and my mum being a cartoonist and criminal lawyer was quite sort of yin and yang, but worked well together.
Well, I was going to say it works really well for cinematography as well, doesn't it? Because you have the analytical mind and you have the creative mind, which I think you need both in equal measure. I think the most successful have to have both, really, don't you? Because it relies on so much kind of knowledge of equipment that unless you have that down,
you do need a bit of technical understanding, which I think you learn also. I mean, I worked up through the ranks, so I started when I was about 17 working as a runner, and then knew what I wanted to. Actually, when I was really young, I saw Star Wars, and I thought that's what I want to do, special effects. I want to do special effects in films. It's amazing, spaceships, explosions.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what I wanted to do as a 10-year-old, I guess.
Yeah.
And then my sister went out with a guy who worked at Lift and Shoot, which is a film transport company. And at the time they had a Chevy van which looked like the 18 van. It was a black van with a red stripe down it. And I thought, that is the coolest job. He drives this 18 van around.
How old were you when this?
13 or something, I guess. I'm not even that. And then he went off and became a loader and he worked on like Empire of the Sun, and he brought me back a clapperboard of Empire of the Sun. I thought, and camera department then was like the coolest job you could really do. I was like, no, that's
it's the eye of the storm.
I want to do camera department.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what I wanted to do.
And that gives you quite an advantage in the career to know it that early.
Yeah, which is really unusual for people generally to know whatever career they want to do, to know at an early age what they want to do. And I was always into photography as a teenager as well and stuff. So I kind of knew photography. I taught myself photography early teens kind of thing. So
you can see that in your work as well, because I think you're very, very good at capturing moments, but you also have a real eye for light. Well, obviously, but it's nice actually to see on your website that there's a section dedicated to photography. Because I think if I was a director, I'd like to know a little bit more about the DOP rather than what's the latest stuff they shot.
Yeah.
I'd like to know how artistic they are. Do you know what I mean? I think that's quite.
I think it's quite important.
Yeah.
That's why Instagram used to be quite good, but now it's shit.
Yeah. It's a problem. Do you want to talk a little bit about your Cinematographers UK?
Yeah, so I set up, I kind of died a death really. I set up because I just thought there were other Instagram pages like it, so I thought we should do an Instagram page where essentially any cinematographer's UK representation basically was an idea, could take over to an Instagram account for a week or 2 weeks, whatever it was, and post whatever they want. creative. So
Yeah.
references.
So it's a
that they
gallery
like.
that people can curate.
Yeah, and they
for a
can
week.
either post their own work or stills they've taken or something that inspired them or whatever
Right.
they want. But it's
Yeah.
it's their thing
Yeah, a
for a
platform
week.
for that week. Yeah.
And it worked really well. We had a good queue of people who wanted to go on it, and we kind of worked out how to keep it going easily, and so people could take over. So the admin side wasn't too much of a pain. Went for a couple of years, it was doing well, and then it got blocked, and something happened, and it basically Instagram somehow managed to just shut it down. Somehow, I think the email address got hacked, and so the email address got changed, so I never got any warning of it, and it got shut down, and there was like 20,000 images on there, and it's just all gone. So I messaged Instagram and said, look, it's not been hacked, blah, 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 and they were like, too late, it's gone. So
Wow, that's a warning to everyone there, isn't
really,
it?
yeah, it's really
people's
like,
careers
that's
are
such
their
a
whole.
good library of just lovely images and stuff of anyone, all the DOPs in the UK, and then somebody tried relaunching it, and it kind of went for a bit. I don't know what happened to it really, but I just thought because the admin was a bit of a pain, so I just couldn't be bothered to
So
do it.
you had someone helping you with that?
No, I was just doing it.
Oh,
But
you
it was
doing it all-
just
right,
every
it's quite a
week,
commitment.
just sending an email to someone just to
Yeah.
give instructions that they had to do.
Yeah,
It wasn't
yeah.
that hard, but it
Yeah,
was
yeah.
just
Yeah, it's another thing to think about on top
another
of all
thing
the
to think
work
about,
you're getting there.
But
Yeah.
it was good while it lasted, and it's a shame it kind of ended, really, I thought.
So what I like the most about Instagram is the fact that you have this historic archive of.
Yeah.
It's like it's nice to see historically how things develop with
Yeah.
someone's work,
Yeah.
and to not because actually that made me think that I wanted to take everything off Instagram and back it up just in case that happened to us.
Yeah.
So I learned a lesson from that. That's a very valuable lesson. But imagine a young DOP and their whole work, their whole kind of like point of sale kind of thing is Instagram, and they lose their
lose it
account.
all, yeah.
Yeah, I mean that would be
It
pretty
does happen,
traumatizing.
it happens to quite a few artists, photographers as well. Post an image that's censored or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they got a lot of power, haven't they?
Yeah.
This platform.
But it's
Yeah.
just a bit annoying now, because it's obviously pushing away from stills into more
Video,
content
yeah.
and video,
Yeah.
and just drivel on there now.
Yeah,
It's like
yeah.
TikTok is the way
It's becoming like TikTok.
Yeah, and it's just a bit of a shame.
Yeah. Yeah, that's why we're expanding to podcasts, because it's like the thing that I find interesting about this new generation is that they want everything immediate and have this really low attention span, yet they're still willing to listen to a 2.5 hour podcast. So it's a bit of this culturally. It's that new this sort of Z gens they have both interests. So, and we've proven with podcasts that people actually don't have a short attention span. They just want to be. I think it's
They
probably
just want the right information.
Yeah.
It's just like it's kind of like I just chatted about this earlier with someone actually, and you got YouTube and then you got Vimeo, which is more proper films, and then someone should do a similar thing. So now you got Instagram, which is all the shit, and then you have another platform, or even do a paid Instagram, a paid tier where you just get content. Good, I can't remember, but something where it's more of a premium. Web artists, photographers, filmmakers, and everything. That post there.
Yeah, there's definitely a need for that. You're quite right.
Not some girl standing,
Yeah. Yeah, one of the things about Setnotes is we the goal is to try and inspire people to go out there and create, right? That's the kind of, fundamentally that's what it's all about, really, isn't it? It's about inspiring. So you went to this media school.
Yeah, for a couple of yees, which was fine. I mean, I didn't really, it was just more just...
Did you get hands on any cameras or anything? Did you actually shoot?
Yeah, we shot
products?
stuff. I mean, to be honest, it was most of the stuff that everyone shot was pretty shit. But because I was into it already, and I sort of made a couple of good friends there who are really into it as well. And so actually we made some quite fun short films. We shot on Super 8 and...
Oh, great, that's my first film was Super 8.
Yeah, we
got me into film school.
And then we entered into some little film festivals and won a few things, which was quite sweet. Got arrested making it.
Oh, well, nice. Yeah, notch on the
exactly.
the TV.
It was fun. It was good. It's good learning, but being out on set is obviously the best.
So you said you started as a runner. It was a commercial production company.
Started as a runner, freelance actually. It's when Wizzo used to do a thing called Just Runners, and she's
right.
So I spoke to her, and then if a production company's looking for a runner, they'd ask her, have you got any runners? And so like a diary service kind of thing.
Yeah.
Just for runners.
Yeah, and you came out of film the media course and went straight onto that.
Yeah, did a bit of that. I mean, my sister was a producer, so it was a slightly nepotistic thing there where she got her own jobs as well. And then I, age 17 or 18, then managed to get on the commitments of Alan Parker movies.
Oh yeah, I've seen that. Yeah,
as camera trainee, so that was good.
And did you know when you were on long form? Did you kind of mark out? You say, actually, I want to do short form, even though.
No, not really. I mean, I'm not a pushy person at all. I'm not a overly. I love what I do, but I'm not overly ambitious. I've just always thought it's like a river. You just it takes you where it takes you, you know.
Yeah.
And it's just so I worked as a camera trainer and runner, and then a loader for about 5 or 6 years, and a focus for about 5 or 6 years, and an operator. So I kind of worked up through the ranks in a very slow process, which was brilliant for me.
Because you got to work with some really good people and learn from them.
People, and I got good experience and understanding of other DOPs and film set generally, and other directors and stuff. So it was a fantastic learning experience. But
my career, I didn't stay in the camera for long enough, actually, and one of my regrets is that I didn't get to spy on enough other DOPs, so I didn't really know how to behave as a DOP on the film set. So I found that I had a technical appetite, but when it came to actually doing the role of a DOP, it's not just that; it's so much more. And that's
weird, isn't it? It's like directors as well. When you work with directors, and you see directors work so differently, and you just think, these guys never get to see how other directors work, or DOPs. When you're a DOP, you have no idea how other people. Yeah,
it's like ships passing in the night, and it's it's so valuable to see how everyone has a different approach and learn some little tricks. Every time I'm on a set, I learn a little trick from another DOP. So I was quite lucky because I had a director. I noticed that you work a lot with Siri. Yeah. So I had one girl, female director that. Sarah Dunlop, who really got me started.
Yeah, she's great, Sarah.
Yeah, and she let me come on before she could actually use me, because I was, I was very inexperienced. She allowed me to come onto some of the sets of some of the more established DOPs and watch them work.
Good. Yeah.
So that was quite a good start for me.
Where's she now? Because she was at Wrestling City.
She's gone to
not Hunky Dory. No, it's
not Corner Shop. It's
Corner Shop. Yeah, Corner Shop.
It is Corner Shop. Yeah,
I think it's Corner Shop. Yeah.
I think that's for the American market, probably. Yeah.
But
when I look at Siri's work, I look at Sarah's. They kind of got a similar sort of sophistication to them. Yeah. What's Siri like to work with?
I love working with her. She's got a very fresh mind. She's always thinking. She's always always thinking. She's always like
sort of recalibrating.
Yeah, exactly. So you can set up something, and then she'll go, "Oh no, actually, this is better." She's right. She makes decisions, and which might mean changing everything.
Yeah.
But and
so she's happy to flow.
But actually, it's worth it. You know. Actually, if you want to do the best job, then you can just do this. Like, we could be lazy and do this, but let's do the best we can and do. And she's good, and she always pushes me, which I love as well. Yeah. She's great.
Yeah, that's really interesting, because to be on set and to, because we do we sort of, as a DOP, you repeat certain techniques that have worked in the past, but to keep fresh eyes on it and to be challenged, I think
is really
oftentimes directors push me as well and get me to rethink it, and I come away thinking, that was kind of interesting, because I was happy to settle for that. And actually,
I wonder if there's some DOPs out there who kind of fight that, who don't like it being pushed.
I'm sure there are.
I love it.
I mean, it's down to personality as well. The whole Pisces thing of sort of fitting in and flow and going with flow is probably. That's one of the lessons I had to learn, actually, because I was a bit feisty on set for many years, and I had to learn that, to support the director. And the other mistake I made was, when I did learn to support the director, I did it in so much so that I used to upset the producer, because I used to fight their battles for them, which wasn't for me to fight.
Yeah, it's tricky, isn't it?
So that was another mistake that I had to learn. It took me a while to learn that one as well. Right, so let's talk a little bit about your work, shall we?
Oh God, okay.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think coming up in the camera department really helped you, because it got. I would imagine you got on set with some really good directors, and they knew of you when you were in the camera department, rather than having to try and win work often as a DOP without them having you.
Yeah, I guess.
So, could you tell me a little bit about the transition from your focus, your operator, you said? Yeah,
well, I kind of was pretty much everything. So transition from loader to focus was very much DOP led. DOPs I work with.
That's like saying you're ready for focusing now.
I've got a drama. I used to do quite a few dramas and stuff, and so I did. Then I used to do sort of longer form stuff, and they'd say, look, you're up for you should be focus putting now. And same operating was actually, as I was focusing, if there's a second camera, I can operate second camera. So that's how I started doing operating, and a lot with a second camera. Yeah, and how did you feel about operating? Because that's another way of spying on a DOP, isn't it? I love operating. Yeah, it's great, because it's you just, it's I love composition side of it as well. When you're
Yeah.
operating, you can just focus on the composition and obviously the light, but it's mainly just finding a
Yeah.
beautiful
Yeah, what I
shot.
think with your work is so special is that you managed to get this, I call it like a sort of cinematic documentary or sort of magic realism. There's one job where you're shooting on homeless people on the streets of London,
Oh yeah,
and that could have quite easily been really not visually good. And you managed to find a way without, I would imagine, with very minimum.
that was nothing.
yeah.
That was actually, to the credit, that was a director, there was a young guy at Rattling Stick who was used to write the treatments, well, I don't know if he still does write the treatments of Rattling Stick, a guy called Josh Carpenter, and it was his idea, he came up with it, which is a brilliant idea, and it was really lovely, and but again, it was just 3 or 4 of us in the street with a C300.
And it seemed to me you were doing drive-by shots in the vehicle.
Yeah, a couple of drive-by shots, and I just think I had one battery operated like a sun gun type thing, just to give it a
And were you
thing.
on an easy rig or how do you hold the camera?
No, that was just handheld.
Yeah.
Generally, I just handhold it. I can keep it pretty steady handheld, even if walking around. Easy rigs I tend to find, I find them annoying because walking with them, you get off
weird bounce,
unless you have that silly arm thing.
The serene,
And then also because it's such a pain taking it on and off, you end up wearing it more.
Yeah,
so in between takes, you end up going.
And it spins around and hits people in the head.
Yeah, you end up wearing it more, so it ends up being just as heavy rather than having. If you want to.
Do you have any system of support with that? Do you do moose bars or?
I in an ideal world, have the camera built as light as possible.
Yeah.
But that's nowadays you've got cine tapes and all the shit that's on there is hard. You think, God, cameras are getting smaller, but
all the stuff. It's like a tree of stuff.
And also cameras used to be like film camera was well balanced. You'd have the mag behind you, so it's
like an arsenal.
balanced. Whereas
so it's like a cat sleeping on your shoulder.
Whereas now they're a bit more awkward, but I just have moose bars.
Have you seen? Because one of my favourite handheld. There's 2 guys that I think do excellent handheld in the film world. One of them is Christopher Doyle, who works a lot for Wong Kar-wai. And the other one is Bobbitt.
Sean Bobbitt.
Sean Bobbitt.
Yeah, he's great as well.
Yeah, I mean, I saw the latest Steve McQueen. I can't remember what it's called now, but it's a series that was pretty special for me because my sisters were really into Caribbean culture, so I grew up in that environment.
Yeah.
And this handheld when they were dancing just blew me away. I just thought, man, this guy's really getting into the spirit of everything.
Yeah, small axe.
Small axe, that's it. Yeah. So do you strip? Because Christopher Doyle, what he does is he gets a pillow, straps it around and uses his shoulders in.
Yeah, I've done that sometimes.
Elbows
with a cine saddle around my head and just had it here, and you can rest your arms in the cine saddle kind of thing.
You've got the height advantage as well. So
sometimes, but generally you've got the camera here, so I end up spending most of my time with my legs bent or spread wide apart to get lower.
Right.
Because being tall is a bit annoying sometimes.
Yeah, the problem for me is when I get a taller model than me.
Yeah.
And I've got to pack it up to the camera.
Oh yeah, because it's tricky. I mean, because you end up being comfortable. It's easy to fall into being comfortable just having a shoulder, or there's a certain lower height that's comfortable, but any kind of heights in between that aren't so comfortable. You end up you've got to really force yourself to go. Okay,
What's your view on gimbal?
For the right thing, it's brilliant. Yeah,
because I think there's one piece of work I saw that looked to me like it was gimbal shot in Africa. Land Rover,
Yeah, no, that was just in the back of a pickup handheld.
Right.
Yeah,
really?
Gimbal on that.
Okay.
I did.
And then you had the Siri job you did with over energy.
Oh yeah, over.
Was that Steadicam?
That was handheld, I think. There might have been some Steadicam. No, I think most of it was
really
handheld. Yeah.
Did they post stabilizer? Because it looks really smooth. Is there a boy coming out from outside to inside and taking his shirt off and having?
That was British Heart Foundation.
Oh, sorry.
That was Steadicam.
That
was Rick Willard on Steadicam.
Oh right, I've worked with Rick. Yeah,
brilliant.
Yeah, he's really great.
Yeah.
I thought that was a really good Steadicam sequence.
It was really hard. I mean, that kid, how old was he? 12 or 13 or something. He had
do the whole thing. Yeah,
60 seconds of dialogue essentially in one take.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive.
It's non-stop dialogue.
Yeah.
Tricky,
how many takes did you do with that?
Quite a few.
Yeah.
Because it was a classic thing. Whoever wrote the idea never thought of reading it. So even if you just read it, it came to like 70 seconds or something. So they're trying to make the boy read it really quickly to try and squeeze it into the length, but actually you just couldn't. So they had to cut some lines, make it Why do you think
Isn't- I mean,
why did
this-
no one sit there and read this before?
Right. This is one of my biggest gripes with,
Yeah.
with commercials is that they write 60-second ideas for a 30-second slot all the time.
Yeah.
And then they force you to shoot 60 seconds knowing that half of it's going to end up on the floor and the quality goes down when if they just
Yeah.
wrote it properly
Yeah.
and timed it out and did animatic. I love an animatic. 'Cause you can-
Animatics are good, yeah.
Yeah, because then
Yeah.
you can work out exactly how long the
Yeah.
shots are. And you can say to the director, is this going to be a second, 2 seconds? What is it? What
Yeah.
are we looking at here? And I
Yeah.
like all of that structure personally.
It is frustrating, right? When you see
Yeah.
these guys have been working on this ad for 3 months.
Yeah. And they can't, that's a
then-
fundamental
and then
thing.
you shoot half it and they go, actually, no, we want to change this idea. You think,
Yeah.
We've been working on it for 3
Yeah.
months.
What amazes me is that advertising agencies are now having their own little production wing.
Yeah.
And what amazes me is that I shouldn't really say this, but they've been on set for like 20 years and you'd think
Yeah.
they'd pick up a thing or two about production.
Yeah.
And they really don't seem to, I don't see the evidence of them actually having.
I mean, it's tricky. I've done a few jobs direct with agency, and some of them are lovely, but some of them are shit. Generally, it's the latter.
Yeah.
Just because they don't have the pool of directors, they don't have. It's just they always just tend to be the lower. But I've done some really lovely stuff. I did some nice nationwide ones recently with an agency producer who used to be at VCCP, who was essentially directing them because they didn't have a director. So she kind of did it herself, and they're really sort of natural, very humanistic, lovely. Just people talking about the mortgages and stuff.
Yeah.
Like that.
See, that would be your. I think the evidence on your reel is that there's quite a lot of that work, which I think you kind of cornered that. You know, like if I was a director and I wanted that, you're very good at getting that emotion across, and you've got a very light touch. You know, it's like so you shoot. It almost looks like a documentary, but it's beautiful and magical, and it's got all these other elements that I think very hard. I mean, like for example, your first I can't even read it. TED.
Entelechy thing. Yeah, that was
What a name for a company, eh?
Yeah, I know. Entelechy Arts.
Yeah.
Have they announced it? Maybe I've got that one.
Yeah.
I don't know. That was nice. Again, that was just a director, Sonia Phillips, who's lovely. It's just like 5 of us just going around.
Yeah.
And just, again, because very old people who had lost partners. That one you were talking about, the guy had lost his wife. And it was a very emotional story actually. But anyway, the situation like that is just keeping it minimum crew,
The intimacy.
minimum lighting as well, and actually lighting not on the floor, so everything lit from outside where possible. So it's just not equipment.
What light did you have out there?
I can't remember.
it had
Pretty
quite-
simple. I think I just had like because we had to run off local power. I think I just had a M40 with a 2.5 bulb in just outside.
Was it direct or did you?
It was. I can't remember. I think it was a textured window, so I think I just played. I quite often, you pan it off a little bit. Just
To get the edge.
thing.
I love the edge of light.
So it might have been that. And did I have anything? I can't remember, to be honest. But I kept it really, really simple.
Do you work with the same gaffer on most of your UK work, or do you have a mixture?
It's a good question, actually. I do and I don't. I seem to go not by choice. I seem to go through waves of stages because availability of them, because they're all bloody never available. Trying to find a gaffer. So there's about 3 or 4 who I like working with and try and get them.
So I got a different track on that. What I've done was I've got into this Lightstream Kino Flow system. And the Lightstream's little reflectors.
Oh, because I use the CRLS a lot.
Oh yeah, I love that. There's one job actually on at the end where it's a woman in bed. She looks like it's a short film. I was wondering about the CRLS.
No, well before that. That was
because that had a really nice quality of light in the room. And
that was, again, it was a friend of mine, girlfriend at the time, wanted to do a short film. She ended up getting into some really top Swedish film school from it.
I'm not surprised.
And that we had, again, no budget. And I quite like that challenge of just trying to do something with fuck all money and fuck all equipment.
Do you have relationships at the facility houses?
Yeah, some of them. That one I think they managed to get off. I think it was like a theatre lighting. So basically, I got a Parcan, a set of dados, and 1x1 light panel when they were just those bi-colour 1x1 things.
Yeah, so you can do a lot with that.
And that shot of her in bed was actually the Parcan pinged into on the wall, and there was a dressing mirror, so I just pinged into the mirror and reflected.
I could see there was a texture in there. It's quite nice, and it felt like, to me, it looked like reflected light rather than direct. Because for me, I like to try and get away from direct light when I can, because I think it looks more found, more natural. And film, trying to get away from the artifice of the film light for me. It's like, you know,
because
you
it does
going
quite
to
an
the
obvious
edge.
look, isn't it? You know?
Yeah, I mean, blasting an M18 or you know, like a big airy light through a window, for me, I spot that. I just don't think it's got any delicacy to me.
I know what you mean.
So,
but they're great, those CRLS or the Dado. I've not used the Dado ones, but they're quite similar, aren't they?
Well, I mean,
is that what that is?
Yeah. So Dado, what Dado's done is he's taken, because they had it's an interesting story. Kristen Berger was the guy who developed the CRLS system.
You're right.
He won an Oscar for The White Ribbon. He works with a lot of Michael Haneke. He's a Dutch director. And he won, I mean, if you see The White Ribbon, it's beautifully executed. But he also did a film in America, in the Mediterranean, that was actually with Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie, and they shut the whole island down. And what amazed me, because the lights he uses is these people, what they call, in the Dado versions of PB70, it's a 1.2K parabolic beam light.
Yeah.
And he lights through windows with 1.2K of light in the Mediterranean.
Wow.
Because it's so efficient this way. So basically...
They're very spotty.
Yeah, it's like a parallel beam light.
Yeah.
So there's a few advantages to that. One of them is that you need less light. The other advantage is you get parallel shadows, so it looks more like the sun. So you can actually put your reflectors quite close in, and you get this feeling that something's far away.
You've only got a beam this wide, have you?
Well, the PB70 is 70 centimetres, so it's about the size of this table.
Oh, okay.
So that's the big boy, and that's the thing that Kristen Berger did. But there was a theatrical company that Parney was the name of it, and they stopped making them. So then Dado took over and started making his own, and then they fell out. They had a falling out. So Dado just went, well, I'm going to carry on and just do Lightstream. And the advantage of Lightstream over CRLS is that Lightstream is a full system. So all of his small lights that are brilliant optics, as you well know, have these little additional lenses that go on the front that basically allows the lens to have up to 5 times more light in the spot.
I've heard of this with the normal Dados. I've heard about this. I guess they kind of work like, you know, for DSLRs, you get the turn Super 35 to full frame. You know,
they're not
they're not you know, the ones that what are called 0.7 time.
Oh yes, the ones that kind of Well, basically the theory behind the lighting, the Dado ones, is that when you go into the flood portion of the light, and when you flood the light, the bulbs actually come to the front of the optics, so you get way more light. Because when you're in a spot position and you're at the back of it, then you have a lot of light lost in the barrel of the light.
Right.
So what he's done is he brought it to the front to get that 5 times more light, and then he uses another lens to focus that light.
Fine.
So it's just making the light more efficient, basically.
So you can still flood and spot it though, or you just change
you only really use them with the reflectors. Fine. So the idea of the reflectors, if you want to get different qualities of light, you change your reflector out.
Fine.
So you put these little lights onto the reflectors, and then you go, what's number 1 look like? Direct sunlight. Number 2, hazy sunlight. Number 3, got a really beautiful kind of...
Same as the CRLS.
Yeah.
Kind of thing,
But what I love about them is the philosophy of lighting with them, because you basically, rather than doing what I call subtractive light, where you blast a whole light through a window and then you put flags and nets to try and get the shape you want. You do an additive, so it's like painting. It's like you go, I want a little highlight there and a little highlight there.
That's kind of how I like to light, is see what you've got, you know, see what you've got, and then
I can see that in your work.
I think it's just keeps it simple as well.
Yeah, well, certainly with the
every time you do end up just trying to overpower what's there, and you just think, oh, now you're. You know, saying that it completely depends on the job and you know,
well, I can see there's I mean, you've done everything basically. You've done car commercials, you've done food, you kind of done it all. Yeah. But what I think I can see that you found your stride in this sort of documentary. Yeah. Magical magic realism documentary or whatever we want to call it. Yeah. And that, I mean, you clearly experienced, and you can do a car, you can do this, you can do that, and you know. But when I see that work on your reel, it feels to me a little bit more commercial looking. And when where I see your other work, your more documentary work, I feel it's like kind of got a slightly different, a unique voice. Yeah, which is your voice.
Because if you look on my show, I've got quite a lot of charity jobs, like that Entelechy one. I did a nice, God knows what it was, help the aged type thing. Saved Red Cross recently and stuff. And because you're not selling a product, so you haven't got that thing of someone tell you, can you make it a little bit brighter, or you light it and then they just turn it right up in the grade, and you weren't able to make the grade, and you send them loads of reference photographs of how it should look, and then you get the final thing, you think, what?
Yeah.
So just like
Yeah, that happens to me quite a lot.
So frustrating.
Yeah, I mean, and now they don't. The good old days when we were shooting on film, they'd leave the DOP and the director to kind of find a look.
Yeah.
And nowadays, because it's like, you know, I use the phrase "a racehorse designed by a committee's a camel,"
Yeah.
because everyone's hovering around a monitor,
Yeah.
and everyone's got an opinion, and it's almost like the junior people are more dangerous because they have to have an opinion to keep
That's
their
why
jobs.
I try and always go to grades where I can. Definitely if it's a job I really care about.
Yeah, I'm the same.
Because I
see
think
that as part of
between
our job.
myself and I'll be sat up at the front with the colorist, and you can, if back row start, oh, can you do that? You tend to press a few bullshit buttons. And,
Yeah, you do a tiny
flick
little
between two different things. Yeah, on, off, off, and it's like,
that's a really good way of working it.
or just or doing it and then just slowly bringing it back. Or doing because it's just.
To try and hold on to the
I
integrity.
think in that situation, I think people quite often just like to have an opinion. It's quite an exciting time for certain people to be in the grade.
Yeah.
And so they want to have an opinion as well, just for the sake of
what I find the worst scenario in the grade is when they try and put a wash and go in a different direction to everything that was discussed previously. So you've lit it.
Really annoying.
Yeah, you've lit it a certain way, and then they go off in another direction because they're so excited by the technology, and that's just that's when I sort of pipe up and say, actually, we did it for this. This is keep the colours separate. My advice, when I'm talking to graders, it's always like, try and just do what we did in the lighting and keep the colours separate, keep it all there, and just like enhance it rather than go off
completely different. Yeah. And if you do go off, then you go off how I wanted to go off.
Yeah. Do you use LUTs at all when you're on set?
Generally not. I mean, I do sometimes, but I just find safer not to. I'm
direct 709. Yeah. I always say to the directors, this is a shitty LUT, and if it looks good here, then you're in a good place.
And then I'll, with a DIT on set, I might go over and because I always get the DIT to send me a photo album kind of thing. So he does a lot of iPhoto shared album type thing. So I'll go over to him and he'll send me the photo and I go, oh, can you just adjust that bit? Can you do this? Can you do that?
Yeah.
And he'll then resend it. And then once I've got the photographs of kind of closer to how I want them, I then say to him, can you add the director? And he adds the director.
Yeah. That's a nice process.
That's quite good. And that's a good relationship with having.
Do you work with similar? Do you have a kind of collection of DOTs that you work with?
I mean, I have one DIT I love working with, but it seems like everyone else loves working with them, so it's always busy. And actually, quite hard to find a good DIT. So I've got 2 or 3 I like working with, and it's like DITs, grips, and gaffers. Jesus.
And a lot of DITs don't see their job as they stand by a computer and just like data monkey kind of thing, and that's not what their job is really. Exactly. I feel you on that.
Where some DITs love that side of it, they love being involved in with the look of it and everything. It's very rewarding for them as well, to be involved in that
it's side. Kind of like an on-set first kind of grade really, isn't it? So they get to see what you can do with it. So let's get into, we touched on lighting a little bit. So we touched on Dado. Do you, I use Kinoflow quite a lot.
Yeah.
And the reason for that is I'm quite wary of the new LED technology. Like a lot of DOPs like to stick to tungsten or HMI because the colour of LED can be all over the place. Even sky panels have a problem, I think, because the age of the LED it dies on them age, and to find 2 that look the same. And the thing I love about the Kinoflow system is it's an ecosystem that's designed to all be perfectly matched.
So when you say the Kinoflow, you mean LED Kinos?
LED Kino, They have this colour matched kind of technology where they even get the chip of the camera dialed into the light, so everything white on different cameras is a different white, right? So they even goes that far. Because Frida, the guy who developed it, he did you've seen the film Barfly with Mickey Rourke?
God, I think so.
1980s film. So he lit Faye. I think it's Faye Dunaway. He lit her with fluorescent tubes, and she was like, "What the hell is this?" She was very vain, obviously, big movie star. And he managed to get a sneaker tube in there, and she ended up really liking it. And that's when the fluorescence first came along, and then he got really into the color science thing, because fluorescence is spiky like LEDs are, so he had to kind of smooth all the colors out, and then that technology, and he held back on the LED because, and then the market share went to companies like Sky, Arri Sky Panel, and what's the tubes called everyone uses? Astera and all of that. But now he's starting to introduce the new lights, but they have one ecosystem, and I love that because one of the things that I really like about your work, I think of it as like a flow of light in a room. So your work doesn't look lit because I think you stay true to that flow of light. So if light's coming into a room and it's bouncing off a yellow wall, then somehow you manage to make it look natural, either by having a yellow bounce or whatever. It just feels like the flow of light is true to the room.
Yeah, I try and, I mean, but then sometimes I look at my stuff, as I'm sure every DOP is, quite self-critical, and I look at stuff and think, God, I should do more kind of lit, because I see other people's work, I think, oh, that is really lit but beautiful.
Yeah.
I should try doing more. And I do the odd job that's quite kind of lit, but generally, it is very natural, and try and use what's there and keep the same feeling but more beautiful, obviously.
Yeah, just it's like we've said, that cinematic documentary. But you do, I think, see, I like your work because I go a bit too far with that. I'm trying to get shafts of light and everything because of my reflector system, and and I like to, I'm a bit frightened of colour, and I must say, when I started my career, there's a lot of French DOPs that really embrace colour, and I was always a bit like held back on that. And now, because of the Kino flow system, I want to start trying to get more colours.
I was the same. So when now things are more LED, you can embrace colour more because
it's so quick.
It's not about just picking the right gel, and actually you hold up a gel and you think that's perfect, you put it in front of a light and it's completely different. The quality of what it gives you is very different to how so trying to, unless you spend weeks testing loads of gels, and even then it's near enough impossible. But having LED where you can look to the camera and just be given the control yourself and just dial it in and just go, that's perfect, and then, and just get it right.
That's the future, isn't it?
I mean, I'm not that specific about lights in the sense of you are about the exact colour balance of each light and everything. It doesn't really bother me so much, but I do love the LED system and being able to just have it on an iPad and just be able to, not if a gaffer can just give me an iPad or a gaffer's box control, thing, and I can just do it, look for the camera and just tweak every light myself. It's so quick. It's so
and that is the future.
Rather than telling someone, can you move that, turn that, bring that backlight down or whatever, and then we'll just have it's just a lot quicker. When you got art department on set and everyone floating around, just be able to just do it yourself rather than speaking to a gaffer to tell the spot.
So going back to gaffers, I worked with some really good ones over the years. Chris Dowling was a really, I worked with him a lot, and I really love working with him. And then what happened was Chris and me is that Chris went on to start working with the younger DOPs and start supporting, because they really need an experienced gaffer. And he adds a lot of value, and all that generation added a huge amount of value to these young DOPs.
A good gaffer is massively...
particularly when you're young, because you don't know how to light. I would argue it takes about 10 years to get good at lighting, I'd say.
I don't think... it's not like 10 years to get good. I think it's a constant.
A good constant, But for me,
but then you look at things you did 10 years ago and you think, I couldn't do that now because the way you think is differently. So sometimes you look back at things that you think, well, that was brilliant, and I probably would I do that? I mean, to be honest, every job I do, I think I look back at even the evening of or the day after, I think I probably would have done differently, or it's like that's why I could never.
Do you have regret then when you look at
not
your
regret?
work?
No, I just I can never be an editor because there's too many choices. Whereas it's like when I take a photo of my camera and I take a photo of something and I take 10. Nowadays you take 10 photos and I look at you and think, okay, and you need to keep one, and I just can't pick. I'm just so indecisive, and it's like that. Is that if I like something like that evening, I go, I wish I could have done that differently. I could have done that differently. But I could have done, and on a different day I probably would have done. But there's no right or wrong way of doing it.
Going back to your Pisces and your flow, being in flow again. Yeah, that's I can see. Yeah.
See that.
Well, it adds to your work. There's a sort of effort. Like I said, it's an effortlessness. It's what you said right at the beginning of this conversation, that I'm not that ambitious. Which some people see that as a negative, but I see it as a kind of positive. Then you're present on set. And you're sort of more in flow with what's going on, and you're more sensitive to the director's needs because you're not kind of trying to get a readable piece of yourself. And I think that's
probably not Instagramming on set the whole time.
And I think that's why you work with such good directors, because I think they feel safe with you. Because of that.
Well, maybe.
It's impossible to say without speaking to them, but certainly looking at your work and the companies you work for and the directors you work for, and that's something that I can learn from that myself.
Well, actually, we were talking about that Interlecky job. The director who did that was from Channel 4 as well.
Right. It's good training, man. Because they get to learn a bit of editing, they get to learn a bit of production. They're one sort of they have an overview of the whole process, which is really helpful.
I worked with the director a couple of weeks ago, Neil Gorringe. He was from Channel 4.
Yeah.
And I've got a pencil and it's the same with Red Bee, which used to be called BBC Creative Services. A good group of directors came out of there as well.
Yeah, I worked with Steve Cope, who was ex-Red Bee.
Steve Cope and Rick Cantor and
Rick Cantor, you worked with
Simon
Rick.
Neal. don't know, I've
Oh no, I've worked with Rick. Sorry.
Yeah, I've worked with him.
I've worked with him once. He's a rogue now. Is it?
No, it's not. I don't think he's at Rogue. I used to work assist for DOP Mike George, and he used to work a lot with. I did TV series as a camera assistant.
Yeah.
Man Straight.
Oh, is it outside? I'm trying to.
Yeah, it might be Outsider.
Yeah.
And Simon Neal, I've got a pencil with. He's ex Red B. It was good learning for. I don't know if it still is that, or whether that was just an era of.
Yeah, well, it had
coming
Channel
out.
4. I mean, I worked a lot with Film 4 as well, and I had this guy Brett Foraker.
Yeah, Brett Foraker,
who did the whole Channel 4 logo things, which is just genius.
Yeah.
And he was a really creative man.
Yeah.
He used to make me laugh though, because he always wore sunglasses in the grade.
Yeah.
And I was sitting outside in Soho with Simon one day, and the sun was just still out. And I was jokingly saying to Simon, this is the only time that I'm going to see Brett wearing his sunglasses appropriately.
Yeah.
And just as he turned the corner, the sun went. I was like, well, not even that. So yeah. But yeah, he went to America.
Yeah, I think he lives in LA now, doesn't he?
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit more about my favourite, Chris Palmer again.
Yeah.
So because he was gorgeous with Frank Budgeon, and Frank Budgeon died unfortunately.
Yeah.
Who, I mean, if people don't know, Frank Budgeon sort of changed. Well, he was one of the most relevant sort of directors in the 90s, wasn't he?
Yeah, massively. I think. And actually, his body. I mean, soon after he died, what was that scene? A couple of years after he died, Gorgeous organised a sort of a screening of of all his work at the cinema. And you forget the body of incredible work he'd done. You know, just every job was just amazing. You know, not only just direction, but also the story, which I guess probably was him a lot as well. Because he does.
I think so.
He's as Chris, they're both ex-agency.
That's right. So my one of the directors I worked with a lot, Steve Hudson, was copywriter for art director for Frank Budgeon, and he said that what he'd do is go through scripts and go, "That's an award winner," and just pluck them out, like instantly knew which one was going to win an award, and he was always right apparently.
Yeah.
And he. I mean, I asked a lot of questions. I never got to work with him, but I asked a lot of questions about his character, because he had quite an interesting character from what I hear. He was
I worked with him quite a bit as an assistant and and operator as well.
Have you got any good Frank Budgeon stories?
God, not really. I'm trying to think.
What was he like as a character on set? How would you describe him? Because one thing I heard was he had a kind of natural curiosity, like a childlike curiosity.
Definitely, there definitely was a sort of childlikeness about him. That's a complimentary thing. I mean, that not, you know. He didn't suffer fools. He's just a lovely guy. It's just, I mean, it's hard to.
So it must have been quite a blow for Chris when.
I'm sure,
yeah. Because that.
I mean, it was on the cards for a while, which that makes it any easier. But, So where's Chris now then? Has he gone to America? No, Chris is, from my understanding, I haven't seen him for a year or so. He's still UK. They've moved offices to. They've got their offices on a boat now.
What, Gorgeous?
Yeah.
Oh, do you know where they are?
They're in one of the docks towards kind of the city.
Right.
They bought this big, beautiful
barge, like Dutch barge.
But no, it's like a sailing boat, but it was used in the Dunkirk, you know, when all the boats went over to. So it's a boat they used in the film Dunkirk. Yeah. One of the main boats to go and
this is so
pull all the soldiers back, kind of thing. But he spent loads of time doing it up. But, because pretty much just. I think it's just him at Gorgeous now. You know, I think he's just kind of.
This piece of weights has moved to America as well now.
And I think he just kind of does jobs that I don't know. He loves working, and he's I mean, I haven't worked for him for 2 or 3 years now, but.
But I tried searching him. Chris, if you go into Google and put Chris Palmer director, nothing comes up.
Really?
Yeah. I had to try and hunt him down. The only representation I could see with him was America.
Really?
Yeah.
Maybe he has completely shut Gorgeous down in the UK now. Then.
I think there might be. I don't know. Someone told me he's gone to America.
Yeah.
I'd like
he's got a place in LA as well.
Right. I'd like to have got him as guest. That's why I'm so curious.
I mean, I think he spends his time between here and LA, but he's got a place in. He's got a beautiful. I haven't been there, but it's a beautiful house in LA. You know the film Tom Ford movie Single Man.
Oh yeah. Is that his house?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is a beautiful house. Yeah. So why didn't he do films then?
I think I don't know why exactly, but I know he was keen to, as was Frank. He had some scripts, and he's always had sort of keen to, he'd follow up with scripts and write stuff himself and get the rights to various movie scripts and stuff. So I don't know why it never actually happened?
It's such a slow burner, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a weird.
I mean,
it's
it's that transition from commercials to films is so hard for directors. I think there's only a few that get it right.
I know. I think he went off to. Did he go off to LA for a while to concentrate on doing that? I'm not sure, to be honest. I don't know why he didn't. He should have done, because he would have been brilliant, and I would have loved to have seen a Frank Budget movie.
Yeah,
it would have been incredible. He did a great advert for Guinness or Stella Artois. This kind of crazy surrealist
black and white.
Yeah.
Was that the one with the?
It's like a chair falling over and ants overall. Like, it's just really weird. It's just completely like a surrealist movie.
Because the one. Were we talking about Jonathan Glazer? Oh no, sorry,
No,
we're talking about I remember the Jonathan Glazer one.
Yeah.
I know the one you mean. There was like a magnifying glass or something, and it's like surrealist. It was a take on surrealist sort of filmmaking.
Yeah.
I saw that.
And I thought, God, if he did a film like that, it would have been amazing.
Yeah,
Thanks, just done just a completely bonkers surrealist movie.
Because the one I really love that's like that, another Guinness commercial, is the one Jonathan Glazer did when the horse is laughing on its back and they have the little hole and they all run up to the hole and start laughing hysterically and fall back. Have you not seen that? Oh my God, it's
I'll have a look at that.
unbelievably good.
Yeah.
It's just, even now, because some, of course, ads don't really age that well, a lot of them.
Yeah.
This one really does.
Yeah.
It's worth searching out. So you kind of like the way you got to meet these directors and work with them. Was it? Am I right? Did you were you on a set presence and they?
I guess. Chris, I started working with him. Same with Frank when I was a loader, and just got to know them that way, and sort of, just then just kind of became matey with Chris. So I sort of hung out with him a little bit as well, and then don't know, just ended up writing for him.
I think it's because they feel really comfortable with you. I think that's your secret.
Yeah.
I think you can get them to relax and trust you.
Yeah, maybe.
Because you've got a lot of repeat directors. Like Siri does a lot of work with you.
Yeah.
And Chris did a fair bit of work. I can see
but I never kind of. Also, I'm one of these people that been in the industry long enough now that I do get directors that I've repeatedly worked with, but it doesn't bother me if they could use.
Right.
Some people, some DOPs I know, I've worked with someone and they're using someone else, and they get really wound up by it. Like, what have I done wrong? And start thinking about, like, oh God, did I fuck up the last job? It's like, I think it's healthy, you can never. It's like even when you're a focus puller and a DOP uses another focus puller in a job, you just think that's how it is sometimes. You can't. Or sometimes you stop working with a director or as a camera assistant, as a DOP, and you never work with them again. And you think, oh, why did that? But that's just how it is.
My agent always tells me.
Then someone else comes out, or you start working with someone else. It's not like it's a very fluid industry, and it's like that's how it is.
You go on a partial journey with someone for a bit, and you kind of, and then because that's what happened with me and Simon. I shot all of his early commercials actually at HLA, and then Simon said, well, one day it's very dignified. He said to me, I'm thinking of spreading my wings a bit and working with some other DOPs.
Yeah.
And I was
that's not nice you said that.
Yeah, because a lot of people directors don't tell you that because they feel so uncomfortable about it.
Exactly.
He's a very brave man, Simon. He's got really good integrity, and he just said it to me straight. And I went, and we did work together again.
Yeah.
Actually, the last job I did with him, I actually did second unit for another DOP that he brought over from another country. And I was saying to my agent, it'd be lovely to work with Simon. I tried to not sort of feel jilted by it, slighted by it.
You can't. I mean, you can't get. You hear some stories of people getting really upset by it. I think.
We came on set after because I was doing pack shots, and he came on set, gave me a hug, and said, "I knew I could trust you with this." Cause,
perfect. There you go.
Yeah. So in a way, it was a compliment, actually.
Yeah, massively.
Yeah. So I've got a few things to cover. So let's talk. Should we talk about influences first?
Okay.
So you said when you were a child, you had a real sense of cinema quite early on.
Just general cinema and culture, and I kind of always grew up. Our family were always.
Was your family quite artistic?
Yeah.
Was there always the kind of cool music playing in the house?
Yeah, always good, a complete range of music, which was nice. And my dad and sister were very good at piano, so always somebody on the piano playing.
Yeah, that's nice. It's a nice background.
Yeah, it's nice.
Ambience. Yeah.
And then my grandma was always around, and my grandma's from Georgia. Oh, thank you. It's from Georgia, south of Russia, Georgia, not
right.
Georgia. So had a bit of cultural influence there as well. And she was Georgian. My grandfather was Polish. So
are you into Polish and Russian cinema?
A bit, not as much as I should be. I should be more. Georgian cinema, I don't know that much, but I've heard it's pretty good. But
I haven't heard. See,
No,
I mean, I
but
probably have
some
without
I mean,
realising.
obviously the classic stuff like Tarkovsky and stuff like
Yeah.
that. But I've seen a few amazing Polish films.
Do you like Krzysztof Kieślowski?
Yeah, brilliant. Yeah.
He was probably my favourite growing
Really?
up. Yeah, he influenced me quite a lot actually.
Yeah.
When I was growing up, that whole film school. The one thing I would say that
Did
I
you
got
go to film school then?
Yeah, but I didn't really get any hands-on experience of making films and all of that. I think you learn that on a film set, right?
Yeah.
But what I did get is an appreciation for cinema, for world cinema.
Yeah.
So before I went there, I was into the obvious Martin Scorsese's and
that's the same as me as a teenager.
Yeah.
The usual sort of.
But then
that was brilliant. I mean,
Yeah.
being into those kind of people, I think, because they were incredible directors.
I went to see Goodfellas at the cinema.
Oh, such a great film. Well, recently or when it
No,
came out?
when it came out. And it was a proper ride for me.
I was probably like 17 or 18 when it came out, and it was the same proper ride. I was like, this is.
Yeah.
I think I went to cinema about 3 times to see it.
Yeah. The biggest films that have influenced me have been probably Goodfellas, Blade Runner, and I'd say actually American films. This is. I'd say.
Apocalypse Now.
Oh yes, yeah. I mean,
that is for me. I think it's just the epicness of it. Before any visual effects or anything like that, it was real. There's a jets coming in and napalming
they were fighting a war, weren't they, up the coast, and
they boarded all the helicopters and stuff.
Yeah,
that's great documentary, isn't it? Hearts of Darkness.
Hearts of Darkness. Yeah, it's his wife, I think. Shot on 16mm. Yeah. I mean, but I like the stories of Vittorio Storaro. Apparently, he was so sort of elegant that he was wearing, I don't know if you saw the pictures, but he's always wearing white linen.
Oh.
And it's like they said that if he fell off a ladder into mud, he'd emerge without any shit on him. Do you know what I mean? It's like he had that kind of...
Yeah.
And he was a young guy, because he, The Conformist, he shot that when he was like, I don't know, 25 or something. Wow. Incredibly... He did his first film, maybe a bit older than that, but I remember him...
Yeah.
He just had this incredible talent.
Yeah, amazing talent.
But it's and to have it, because he got into all his philosophies around colour, and he had quite a lot, because with the Apocalypse Now, it's all about the technology coming and fighting nature. So the two cultures were nature being the Vietnamese and Americans were technology, and it's like how those two things met.
Yeah.
And so he would always want to have like some kind of through line to the lighting. So the lighting with the Americans was always like artificial lighting, and with the Viet Cong it was always natural.
That's interesting.
So I thought that's...
Yeah, it's interesting.
Do you ever have philosophies around when you approach a job? What's your process of when you approach a job? Do you kind of mull over it in your mind for a bit and come up with a lighting strategy? Or?
Yeah, generally. It varies from job to job, really, but generally I will, if I have the opportunity to, I will, if it's just, depending what the job is, if it's an advert for Tesco in a supermarket, slightly different. But,
do you have a starting point? You get sent the boards with commercials, we get sent the boards, we look at the
sometimes,
treatment.
or sometimes the boards, you first see them on the recce, or even after the recce, because they come out from what you process you go through on the recce, depending on the director.
I like that. I like to go on the recce with my Artemis and to find every frame that we're shooting. It's when you see boards and they're trying to force something in that location, it's not going to yield.
Or just isn't. Yeah, it just isn't going to work. So I try and do that, but then sometimes it's quite hard because you turn over in a location and they're going, we're going to move the bed over there, we can clear this out, we can build a fake wall here, we can do this. You think, well, there's no point in me taking a photo because there's nothing here to take a photo of. But as long as you have talked to as a director exactly how you're going to do it. But
so what I also like about the Artemis approach is to try and get a director to think in terms of frames. Because I think some directors have 360 heads. They go into a location, they get seduced by the atmosphere of the location and go, well, actually, that's what we're shooting. So you lose, particularly we did a job recently with churches, and all the churches look amazing. But when you framed up what we're actually shooting,
you're only seeing,
there's only one that actually worked practically. So
it's I wish as a DOP you had more of that option that you were involved in directors' recce's as well.
Yeah, I agree.
Because so many times you turn up on the location and think,
how do they choose this?
How do they choose this location?
And one thing I find really frustrating is that on the the pictures you get from the locations companies, they don't have a sun path on there.
No.
Why not just put a sun path on there? It's such a simple thing to do.
Yeah, exactly.
And then when we're looking through the pictures, at least we can work out.
Yeah, I quite often just Google Maps it and then find out where it is.
Yeah, that's a smart move. Yeah, I didn't think of that. Another lesson I've learned.
But it's still it's easy for them to just do, or at least have a
north. This is north.
Yeah,
that's all it would need. Each photograph. This is north here. Yeah. But I'm really with you on that. It's like I used to actually, the directors that I did get kind of like in bed with, the ones that I was kind of having a long relationship with in filming wise, like Sarah, she would bring me, she'd get me out to a country full of
Yeah.
directors recce, so we'd choose, should allow my input. Which
That's
is great.
why, when you do work abroad, you fly out and you tend to, for a 3-day shoot, let's say you're out for 8 days or something, let's say, so you get involved in quite often director's recce, you get involved in obviously tech recce, and all the days in between. So when second you're on that airplane, you are immersed in just that
it's a
job.
focus, isn't it?
You're so focused on that job.
Yeah.
You're not thinking about
Your little
home
kid
life
at home or whatever,
anything.
yeah.
You're so immersed in it, which I love, and
Yeah.
actually that's when I think you really build up a good relationship with the director
Yeah.
and stuff, because you can really,
It's a little bit-
and you can really help them as well, because you're there for them, and to help them visualize what's in their head. So the more time you have with them to do that, and really
There's like 3 stages to production, isn't there? There's a prep, then there's the actual shoot, and then there's a post, right? And I find that the producer's it's like doing a relay race. The producer starts off with a relationship with the director, and then the moment the DOP turns up, it becomes the baton gets handed to the DOP, and then after that we hand the baton on to the editor, sort of thing. And I think emotionally, one of the best bits of advice I was given when I started out was try and get a director to emotionally need you, to be kind of good to hang out with, and to be to feel supported by
That's the thing. I think to feel supported is very key. Which sometimes with some directors is a challenge, but and also just get on with them, because they're getting it from above, they're getting it from the client and agency sometimes, and so to have someone that there's on their side and singing from the same hymn book as them really helps.
Because they're holding the baby. I kind of taught myself into forgiving bad behaviour on set from directors, because they've got so much pressure, so much responsibility, and they're holding they don't have the same career as we have. Anyone out there now, please know that a director's career is a lot shorter than the DOP's career, right? So they have their moment, and then they become irrelevant quite quickly. So I feel for them when it comes to that last job could be their last job. It really genuinely could be. And they have to make it as best as they, have to get a 7 out of 10 idea up to a 9, or a 4 out of 10 idea up to a 7 or whatever.
It's it's not easy. My sister, I remember my sister saying to me when I was like 17 or something, she said, "Jim, never be a director. DOP definitely, because DOP can work every week. Director, if you're lucky, do 3 or 4 jobs a year."
Do you think it's the best role on the film set?
I think so.
Yeah, so do I.
Yeah,
but it's a huge amount of competition now, because everyone's cottoned onto that.
Yeah.
There's more DOPs than directors now.
Yeah.
When I went to film school,
there's also a shitload of directors as well.
Yeah. But when I went to film school, everyone wanted to be a director, which actually allowed me to go claim DOP, and I got the best projects because of that.
I think that's partly due to the revolution that got brought around by cameras like the 5D, which I'm very pro, because I think it made filmmaking available to the masses. If you want to make a film before, you needed to be able to afford film in 16 film in editing. Yeah,
it's a democratization of
exactly. And suddenly having the ability that anyone can either
it's like what happened with
buy
music
a $2,000 camera. Now you can do it on your iPhone.
That's right.
And actually be able to, anyone can make it. If anyone's got a good idea, anyone can make a film.
Yeah,
There's no excuses. Anyone can do it. So
you can get an app on the iPhone now. So I was looking at the best cinematography app the other day, and one of them is gives you depth of field, gives you everything.
I've never used it. It's got this cinematic mode, which I think does depth of field kind of thing. But it's like portrait mode for cinema, I think. So anyone can make a film now, which is brilliant. But what it means is there's a lot more people doing it. But that's fine, because if everybody wants to turn around and say, I'm a DOP, fine. But there's only ever going to be X amount.
Well, it's a meritocracy in a way.
And get a career out of it.
Yeah, it's a meritocracy. It's like talent shines through, tends to shine through.
Yeah. What's that called? Meritocracy.
Yeah, merit. Based on merit, rather than sort of like some kind of nepotism or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, interesting.
And I used to, when the 5D came out, I used to shoot loads on it. I loved it. I thought it was such a good.
It has a kind of creamy look. Did you find that?
Yes, and I really like that. Yeah. And also just and Martin Hill, who I was assisting for and operating for at the time the 5D came out, was a massive fan of it as well. He was one of the first DOPs I know that used
really embraced it.
Really into commercials.
Yeah.
And because you're so small, no one knows you're filming.
Yeah, because he's
so unobtrusive, and I shot a thing with Simon actually. Operated on Barclaycard, was it? Advert at Heathrow Airport. It's all about
Yeah, all people hugging. I remember it. Yeah.
So that was shot on film.
And he used to
35 mil.
he creeps up to people, doesn't he,
Yeah,
Martin?
Martin's
And then
very
just
good
goes
at
around the
creeping up
back,
to people.
kind of sidles
Yeah.
around, and then comes around
Yeah.
when he's got that 35
Yeah.
mil close into
But
them.
that was 35 mil film, and that was so it's really hard because you're
That was
trying
shot
to-
on film, was it?
That was shot on film.
I didn't know that.
Yes, and that was so you're capturing moments. That moment when the doors open, it was all done with real people. We didn't
Yeah.
nice set up. That moment when somebody sees their family, like,
Yeah.
you've got to preempt it because
Yeah.
the second you. So it's actually
So you
really
shot a lot of
hard to do. Shot quite a bit of film, but
Yeah.
now something like that on 5Ds would be.
You wouldn't even need to.
No one would. You're
Yeah.
so like you say, so inconspicuous and so just.
Yeah.
You could be this close to someone and someone doesn't
Yeah.
know you're there.
Yeah. Like you were saying at the beginning of our conversation about the new Canon camera that's come out that shoots 8K
Yeah.
and shoots really good still.
Yeah, the R5C.
Yeah, 5C.
Yeah.
The era of the 5C now.
Yeah. Well, they bought the R5, but it kept overheating apparently or something.
Oh,
But
really?
It's,
Yeah. This,
so it's got a big fan on the back of it.
Yeah.
But it's great. Yeah.
so let's segue into talking about lenses then.
Yeah.
So I've noticed when I look through all your work,
Yeah.
I noticed you don't stick to one lens.
No.
You
Yeah.
shop around a bit, don't
Yeah.
you? For the,
But I do like lenses.
yeah. But
think-
I noticed there's not a lot of anamorphic on your. It's a lot of spherical.
Yeah, I don't know what that is really. I mean, sometimes it's just. Yeah, I don't know.
When
There
someone
is
like
some
Steve
anamorphic.
Annis
Or
is-
sometimes I shoot stuff anamorphic and then crop it to 16:9.
Yeah.
But generally, there isn't a lot, is there?
No, I mean that
I shoot more anamorphic.
yeah. Well, I mean certainly with the social
Yeah.
media requirements now, anamorphic's not such a smart
Yeah.
move. If you're going to do 916s out of anamorphic,
I always thought, going to give away my secret here, is because if you think of a if you got a film camera which was what was it? I was thinking. So if you turn the anamorphic lens sideways on a
Yeah.
16:9
Oh, yeah,
frame,
yeah.
no, put the camera on its side basically, but
yeah.
have the anamorphic sideways, you could extend a 16:9 by 2 times anamorphic, so it would become essentially a 18 by 6, so near enough a square frame.
right.
And
Interesting.
so for social media, you could
That's a really
put
clever
anamorphic
idea.
on, but the
Yeah.
streaks and everything, and the flares would be, the ovals would be
Yeah,
up
you
and
need
down.
to check
rather
the
than
pins
that
on
way.
the mount as well. You need to sort of somehow get the pins. Yeah.
But I mean, a lot of those lenses actually have four
4 pins.
registration,
Four registration holes.
on
Yeah,
them,
yeah. So you can just rotate them around.
Always thought of doing that, just film everything on camera on its side
That's,
and for Instagram and just
yeah.
use a full.
I used to have a thing called Linhof Technorama, which
Oh,
is
yeah, lovely.
a really
Plate-
wide-angle
yeah.
stills camera, medium
Yeah.
format. And I saw there's a gallery exhibition. I
Is that
saw
like
it.
the wide lux type thing?
Yeah, it
Yeah.
shoots medium format, but rather than one frame,
Does it
shoots about-
scans, does it?
No, it's not that one.
Oh,
no,
right.
no. This is just it shoots about 3 frames simultaneously.
Oh, wow.
Simultaneously. So it's a big old
Oh,
lump like this.
amazing, yeah.
But I went to a gallery show with that was the camera they used, and they did
Yeah.
it all. And it's just amazing how limited that is in the world.
Yeah.
We kind of all see a little bit landscapey.
Yeah,
Don't
well, eyes are next to each other, not above
Yeah,
each other.
yeah, exactly.
That's what
So-
I always say. It's like whenever I take stills, I generally always take them landscape.
Yeah.
I never hold my camera portrait, and
But have you noticed how the new generation?
I know it's everything's portrait.
Everything's
It's
portrait,
really-
yeah.
Not yeah, it's really annoying.
Yeah. So I mean, because the way the eye see is not portrait.
That's what I always say to
Yeah.
people when they're taking photographs. It's like, your eyes are next to each other.
Yeah,
above each
yeah,
other.
not above each other. Yeah, yeah. Unless you're drunk one night and you're
Yeah.
on the floor. Yeah. So lenses then. So
Yeah.
do you have a favourite make of lenses?
Not really. I mean,
Manufacturer, I
I
should say.
kind of go through them, try. I mean, I love lens, especially with digital. Obviously, lens with more character.
Yeah.
Uh,
'Cause
I'm,
I've made a few notes on the
I'm a
lenses.
focus puller's nightmare because I love
Oh,
shooting
wide
everything
open.
wide open.
Yeah, yeah. So that's one I wanted to talk to you about because there's a few jobs that I think it really added something.
Super speeds, I think, were brilliant. You know, when everyone was Super 35s,
Yeah.
Zeiss Super speeds are just. I mean, I remember when I was younger, somebody offered me a set for about $5,000, and I was like,
Mate, you must regret that.
"You get a whole set of lenses in a suitcase this big."
Yeah,
you know, and
yeah.
it's-
And they go on
they're
anything.
small,
They go on a
anything.
drone. They go on
Yeah.
anything. Yeah,
Such good lenses.
yeah. They're amazing lenses. So
and
that's,
they've got lovely character.
yeah.
So I use
They've
them
got kind
quite
of
a bit.
a milkiness as well,
Yeah.
haven't they? Yeah.
And then when you go full frame, you're a bit more limited. So
Do you K35s? Is it?
K35s I like. I sometimes use a newer Canon. They did those Sumires,
Right.
which are like their supposedly modern K35, which
Yeah.
are kind of got a bit of character to them,
Yeah.
but not nowhere near as much as K35, but they're full frame and they're fast.
Yeah. Have you heard of the Dream lenses?
I've got one.
Oh, you got one.
Yeah,
What
I've
one have you got?
I've got
A 50?
the Canon.
50?
Well, I've got the Canon 50mm 0.95.
Yeah.
Then I've got the 35mm whatever it is,
It's
1.5.
it's the rangefinder that fits with it. Yeah.
So it's a Canon.
Have you got them rehoused?
No.
No, because I just literally sent them to True Lens to get mine
Oh,
rehoused.
really? And then I've also got not got the Canon 85mm, but I've got a Russian equivalent to it. It's a rangefinder.
Yeah.
85mm, I think, f2.
Yeah. Have you used that on any jobs?
I used it on a shelter advert I did over Christmas.
Is that on your website?
Might not be on there. I haven't updated my
Yes.
website in about a year.
Oh, really?
It's, or maybe I have. It's a thing I did with Jamie Reffin, Smuggler.
Or pop it on there because then the viewers can watch it. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I'll update my
Yeah, because the Dream lenses are very, very special. The first time I
love them. They're great.
The first time I saw them was it was Zac Efron, Army of the Undead.
Oh yeah,
and it's all shot on red.
Zack Schneider.
Schneider.
Yeah, that was all shot on them. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was all shot on red.
Yeah.
Which is very digital format, very sharp format, and it just looked so dreamy. And I was like,
nightmare for the focus pullers.
oh yeah, yeah.
And aliens or
Yeah.
zombies running at you.
Yeah.
I haven't rehoused mine. They're currently Leica mount.
Right.
And no, I Leica mount, but I've got a Leica to E-mount adapter. So with the Sony Venice, if you take the PL mount off, all Sony Venices are Sony E-mount underneath.
Ah,
so,
interesting. Yeah.
Which is really close to the sensor. But it means you can put any lens, any pretty much E-mount you can get adapters to.
Yeah.
Leica M, you can get adapters to.
Well,
anything.
I did a really crazy thing, and I got my Leica M's because I was really into Noctilux lenses.
Yeah,
and I got them rehoused,
yeah.
and I went to this guy called Kim Camera in Korea because he's the only one that would go near them, and he really balls them up, really badly.
Nice,
so
yeah.
it took about 2 years to get them, and I thought he was just going to, because I had no. What was I thinking? Because just the glass alone, because I bought all the glass new, and it was like £30,000 worth of glass, just stills glass. And then, sent them over there, didn't hear from him for, he was terrible at keeping in contact, so he would ignore my emails for about, sometimes up to 3 months. And I'd think, I've lost all my lenses. And then he'd get in contact. I just literally received back the last lens like last week, so now I can kind of put a mind to that.
They're done well or not?
No, really badly. Actually, it's funny because when I did a couple of sets, because I got these old Leica straw coating, the old very early Leicas have a straw coating rather than the kind of mauve coating, and I got those done because I had an old thing called Nisco Optic, which is an anamorphic adapter, 1.4 adapter, and I wanted to house it all so it looked like a proper bit of kit. Yeah, and I sent them over to him as well with my M's. My M's were a huge investment, and the other one.
So the adapter's an anamorphic adapter.
Yeah.
Is that from projection lenses, or are they?
Yeah, it's the ISCO. It's a projection lens. Yeah. So, but because it's got a kind of straw cover, a coating. There's a guy called Melting Point or something. Is it dog shit lens? He does
dog shit. Yeah, I know the guy.
Yeah.
Dave Gale or something.
Yeah, David Gale. Yeah. He advised me to get straw coated Leicas because he said that's the perfect match for the straw coating on the. So I got those back, and they were actually a lot better. But the first
from the same guy.
Yeah. So he's improved his production using my lenses as an experiment, basically. Right. But the first ones I sent him were the most valuable ones. Yeah. So then I brought them back to optical support, and there's a guy there called Tio, who's been coating them with. They get coated in like what's a frying pan, Teflon.
Oh right.
So you coat them in Teflon to try and
PFOAs. Teflon's like one of those chemicals that
everyone has in their body now, right?
I read this thing that the safe levels of it. That the safe level that means if you should have this if you have a higher than this level you're likely to get cancer.
Right.
Every rain in everywhere on the planet, rain has a higher level than that safe level.
Right.
So wherever you're on the planet,
you're going to get Teflon poisoning.
You're going to get PFOA
and chances are you get cancer.
And you think all these communities, all these places in the world that collect rainwater for drinking.
It's gone into the water system.
Yeah, it's gone into all our system. So all our reservoirs have all been filled with this stuff above safety limits.
Yeah, there's a great movie about that actually.
Yeah, Dark Waters.
Yeah, with what's his name? The brilliant actor.
Mark Ruffalo.
Mark Ruffalo. Yeah, it's good. I thought that was a really good film.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
It's frightening, isn't it?
Yeah, really frightening.
Yeah, anyway, my lenses have got that poison in them as well. But they work better now.
Just don't lick them.
Yeah, exactly. I did actually have a set of these lenses called they're really early Pentax lenses called what are they called? Pentax Takimars.
Oh, Takimars. It's super Takimars are now super Takimars. Yeah, they're lovely. Yeah,
and they've all got yellow coatings because they're radioactive. The lenses.
Yeah. A couple of the early Canons were radioactive as well.
You have to put them out in the sun, and then the UV of the sun takes the yellow out.
Yeah.
But I remember I was so worried about those. I took them to a kinesiologist to test them, muscle test me.
So small amounts.
I know. He said to me, "Just don't sleep with them," as his advice. And I was like, "Oh shit, I better stop sleeping with them then."
I've got some of those dog shit lenses actually. I bought. He did these converted
Trumps.
from.
They were called Trumps.
Yeah, Trumps. But
and he had to rename them, didn't he?
Oh, did he?
When Trump came into power, he had to rename them.
So I've got these 35, 50 and 85, which are the same lens but an adapter that goes on the front.
Yeah.
Then he brought out the 28 and I didn't get it. And I keep messaging him saying, have you got a 28 at the front?
He's terrible at getting battery because he's so busy.
Yeah.
And he's like quite a unique guy, really. He's like, there's very few lens gurus in the country now.
Yeah.
You know? So he's...
And then, they're good though.
He does a big anamorphic adapter. Have you seen
I
the
know.
big one?
He was going to, and I don't know what happened to that because I know when he was working on designing it, and then he just kind of went quiet about it.
Well, he's only made a few of them,
Right.
and everyone who's got them won't give them up because apparently they're better than Primos. I mean,
Really?
he was claiming so. I mean, I haven't seen them, but he spent a long time developing that, and it became cost ineffective for him.
Yeah, I think he was selling them. I remember it's quite a lot he was selling them for.
Yeah, it was like $5,000 or something, maybe more.
$6,000, I think,
yeah,
something like that.
But
and I remember thinking, but actually now in hindsight,
it would have been a bargain. Yeah, because the optic is about that size.
Now. It's crazy to get like K35s go for like
270 grand. I mean,
270
that's way overpriced in my opinion. I have a theory around that. I think that what happened with the super speeds is because the super speeds are Zeiss, right? So Zeiss made a move and got into cinema, and then Canon wanted to do a similar move because the K35s came out at the same time as super speeds.
Yeah, they're just rehoused.
That's right, FDs. That's exactly right. Yeah, that's what my theory is.
Yeah, they are. And Canon.
So Canon didn't bother redesigning the lens at all. They just rehoused it and called it, and that's the only reason they work on large format. So
a set of FDs with the aspheric ones and the fast 24 and 55 and 85. They go for
shot up in
ridiculous.
Yeah,
I looked at getting a 24mm 1.4 because it's so technical, boring everyone's senses.
Not our audience.
A couple of years ago, to buy one of these Canon 24mm, it was like not even $2,000, it was like 1,500 quid. And I was like,
now it's like
that is ridiculous.
Yeah, but now it's like $6,000.
No, now it's like 15.
Is it really?
Yeah, it's like $15,000.
Right. Yeah.
It's like fucking hell.
Yeah. I bought one actually.
Did you?
Yeah. And because I'm friendly with Gavin at True Lens, and I always phone him up and say, what lenses should I be buying? What are the ones going to be? Really?
I've always been a fan of, and actually I've used them in quite a few jobs. The Zeiss Contax stills lenses, because they are very similar to the super speeds, and they're full frame. Some of them aren't quite as fast, but the key kind of ones in the middle are. Yeah, and I love them.
The ones that I've got into, I've been coveting these lenses for quite a while, and I started shooting. In fact, the last two jobs I did both of them with this lens set. Did you ever use swing and tilt lenses, the Arri swing tilts? Yeah. Because I think they're all Mamiya or Minolta or something.
Oh,
because they're large format, medium format lenses.
Oh, Mamiya, maybe,
Because they cover.
I haven't used them in ages. To be honest.
But they cover all the large formats, right? Because by virtue of the fact they're medium format lenses to begin with.
Yeah.
So they're kind of pretty cool actually, and I've been like tinkering with them, but the focus pullers hate me because they can't sit on the monitor with their little, very expensive follow focus. They have to stand by the camera and deal with me.
God, I miss that having focus.
I don't, because they used to do their job and like they
always. If you wanted something done, you could just whisper to them, rather than creating attention and. It's just quite
they sort of hide off in another part of the set, making themselves really comfortable. Have a little shared little monitor.
Big monitor now.
Which incidentally they're hiring out to production for about $1,000, more than the DOP's usually getting paid.
Yeah.
It's all quite a bit, a bit sort of.
Yeah. That's right. I don't mind them getting their own kit on it.
Yeah. So do you own any of your own? Well, you own lenses, right?
I've got lenses, but I very rarely. I only use them if they're the right job to use them on. They're generally mainly stills mount lenses, so they're Canon mount. I think I've got a Canon to Arri. Alexa mount, so I can unscrew the front of an Alexa and put the Canon mount on. They are so I get them on jobs sometimes. No, I filters and
let's talk about filters. What's your favourite? What filter combinations do you tend to use?
Very rarely actually use filters. I just carry filters if I need NDs. Grads. Diffusion wise, I've got black Saturns I sometimes use. Or
what are they, Schneider?
Yeah. Or no, Tiffin. Sorry.
Tiffin. I've never heard of those.
Or what are the other ones I've got?
Black Pro-Mist?
Glimmerglass.
Glimmerglass, yeah.
I've got some Black Pro-Mist and old 4x4 format left over from. I used to, when I was an assistant, every time I go and test at Arri, or all the rental houses go, have you got any scratch filters? Because every time they chuck them in a drawer, and you have a drawer full of old. So
I did exactly the same with Panavision.
Sets of 6x6 and 4x4 filters for spending years, just every time taking one.
We should do some trades because I've done exactly the same. I was quite friendly with Panavision when I started my career.
Actually, I was gonna probably. I never use them. 6x6 I use some, but 4x4.
Well, I got a bunch of mine cut down to PV because I thought,
that's a good idea.
Yeah, but you got to find the right glass person.
But then you got loads of stuff like a set of 85s. Right?
I've got loads of that.
Not really very useful anymore.
There might be something in the future. Who knows?
Yeah.
It's like a kind of tobacco, isn't it, or something? You might there might be the odd. Do you use much colour in there?
No, not really. No, never. I just
so it's just a tiny touch of diffusion and let the lens do the rest.
Diffusion, really. Yeah. And I try and do that with the lens because you can't emulate what a lens is doing with a filter.
Filters are quite heavy-handed, I find. So the more I try and do it in the lighting.
And the aberrations you get within a lens, you just can't replicate in a filter.
I very rarely use them.
Yeah, and going back to shooting wide open, that's part of the reason why I like shooting wide open is not because of the narrow depths of field, is because that's when the lenses get a bit fucked up.
Yeah, you
I
get
love
it.
The more you're pushing a lens and it becomes a bit soft or things go a bit weird.
That's when it looks interesting.
Interesting.
Yeah. It's
when some lenses you stop down a little bit.
Yeah, it will get like K35. It's like it's a 2.8. It's a completely different lens set to 1.4.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'd like to talk to you again. We sort of didn't quite get into it deep enough earlier. So influences, like cultural kind of influences, and maybe film influences. That did you have a favourite film growing up or a favourite director?
Yeah. I mean, from a cultural wise, I think. Okay, so let's talk about cultural influence first. I think. I don't know really. I mean, I sort of.
Your family were a big cultural influence.
My family were a big cultural influence, and actually, I've done a lot of travelling.
Did you inherit
working and stuff? So I've learned every. I mean, going away and being abroad and seeing different cultures and stuff. It's been a massive influence for me, and also just way of life in a way. You realise how other people live, and so that's influenced me in the lifestyle, not necessarily in my work.
The thing that's so wonderful about our job, I think, is when you do go to a foreign country, you don't experience it as a tourist. You experience it as a local because you work with local crew, right?
Yeah.
Do you take crew around with you, or do you stick to a local?
Depends.
Yeah, depends.
Sometimes, generally nowadays, very rarely get to take.
I never get to take anyone.
Sometimes, I mean, I've got a camera assistant, Rob Gilmore, who's loads for me quite a lot, but he's great because if I'm going up a mountain in Mongolia and I take one person, he'll come with me and he'll test all the gear before we go hook up, and he'll be an assistant. And he'll do the dragging and dropping the files at the end of each day. And so just having one person who can do everything. I'll probably pull focus myself for a job like that, but he's just an all-round just extra, and actually every time I sometimes argue for him to come on certain jobs and production go, it's a bit of a squeeze, but when he does come,
it saves him money.
That was so much better. He organises a carnet, he just helps with all the gear, wraps it all up, looks after it all. They just don't have to worry about any of that.
Yeah, my person like that is my gaffer Josh. He's a young guy, 25. Well, I started working with him when he was 25, and we grew together with the lighting systems that we use now, the Keynote and the Dado lighting systems. Yeah. So he knows his way around the menus of the Keynote better and faster than anyone. And also with the light stream, he sets a reflector quicker than anyone. That's
the problem with the LED lighting system, is that now you need someone in the lighting department who is just
kind of like a desk
completely like a desktop, but just because there's so many times you go, you want to change colour, you want to chase a couple of lights, or you want to do something, and it is sometimes quite a tricky. If you don't know what you're doing, it's like you see a load of sparks scratching their heads around an iPad. To have someone just go,
But it's younger generation are just all over that.
Incredible. I did a music video. I can't remember his name. It was brilliant. I should use him again. And it was like,
he was a gaffer, was he?
He was a gaffer. So he was a freebie or
how old was he?
Young, early 20s.
Yeah.
And he was just brilliant. We were shooting in mid-take. I'd be going, okay, let's change that colour to whatever. Or the director would be talking to him and doing colour changes as we're filming here, and he'd just do it as we go, seamlessly. Or, whereas a lot of gaffers just
Yeah, I mean, we are a product of our culture a little bit,
Yeah.
and so when things move on, then some gaffers are really good at embracing new cultures, new technology, but a lot of them are sort of set in their ways a little bit.
Yeah.
So I found when I was moving from traditional lighting to the more what I call precision lighting with the color science of keynote flow and the optics of dado, what I wanted to do is something similar to what you do. Is I just like the ambience of the room, so I like to bring the room down in ambience by putting nets on the windows and just bring the whole thing, and then use really precise lights to get the shape, rather than blast it with a load of light and then put a massive ND in the camera and then end up with that reductive thing I was talking about earlier. It doesn't, for me, that doesn't work anymore.
So what do you do in a situation like that if, for instance, you want a bright sunny feel, or you wanted a bit of flare, or...
Well, I still use small lights inside because, like I said, I use nets on windows and stuff to bring, and so I just bring everything down. The problem I come into, and I wanted to ask you about this actually, is when it's exteriors. So, for example, that job with Siri with the Steadicam shot. Because I noticed a lot of your exteriors look really natural.
Generally because they just are.
Yeah, I was going to say because I mean that there's a football, there's the comedy football thing where he's giving everyone. That was a brilliant script. I thought it was very funny.
Yeah, good.
But that had when he was doing the group talk, that all had sort of backlight on it, and then a lot of the wide shots didn't. So, did you like those, or was it just you planned it around the light?
I think I might have just had one light for that.
And what would you, if you're doing exterior, what would your light of choice be?
It depends on the location, but probably like a
9K or 18
9K or something like that.
Yeah, I like 9s because they're one less spark needs to put them on a stand. So
it depends what it is, but yes, and something like that. If I can get rid of the 4.
So you like again, like me, you like smaller lights.
Try to keep things smaller where possible. But then if you're lighting a bigger area as well,
And do you ever say to production, you know what, I'm just going to let it go?
This is the thing is at the end of the day, budgets are getting smaller and smaller. And where they're working as a team, and I've got to help them out as much as I can. So I try and keep things small.
Same here.
It helps them out.
And that's the Martin Hill philosophy as well, right? So you probably learned that a bit off his approach. I think he's like a street photographer the way he approaches things.
He is, and your photography background.
That makes a lot of sense to me.
But I think sometimes I see people's Instagram or whatever, and they're on set, and there's like a whole bank of 18Ks. I'm like, fucking how did they manage to wangle that? If I said, when I bank of 18, I just get no. I can't do that. And actually, also locations, and nowadays pissing me off at locations when you get a location, it's like fourth floor. It's and you go, no, sorry, we can't have a generator here. So you've got to work in your means.
That's right. Well, one of my solutions around that is we got these. They're coming actually from Germany now. These power, what's it called? Servo-powered reflectors. So you can put them
on a high stand and ping up straight up into it.
Parallel beam goes straight up to it. No light loss at all into a second floor window.
That's great, and you can.
You've got little controls down.
Amazing.
So that I'll have to show you that because you should come back when you've got time and actually look at some of this stuff. But let's move on now to advice for, because we didn't really get into. We keep skirting around the influencers. So I think
I can say influencers very quickly was. Usual sort of people as I grew up, being a teen, Scorsese and all those kind of era of directors, Coppola,
David Lynch,
definitely,
that kind of film school generation.
And that kind of coming through the sort of 70s and 80s.
Easy Riders, Raging Bulls,
that kind of went. As they say in that book, sort of the auteur kind of era of directors.
I mean, the thing that's my favourite period of cinema as well, and the reason I love it so much is because big scripts were getting made. But they're getting made like independent films, and now you don't have that. You just have the sort of the big kind of
it's all about. It all goes down to showing audiences, and they've got to reshoot whole films of films. And actually, a lot of crew I work with still work on big movies, and just don't enjoy. Everyone I know who works on commercials wants to do movies, and everyone who works on movies wants to do commercials. And somebody said a good thing was working on a big film now. In the old days, we used to call it a film game. Now it's a film business.
So
that's quite good. It's just not fun anymore. On set it's not as. And for me, that's one of the big things: is enjoy it and have fun on set. And just,
otherwise, why are we doing this? Because it is actually quite a stressful, hard job, and we do work very long hours as well. It's another thing that I liked is 12-hour rule that's come in now. Because I think I start shutting down after about 12 hours on set. I can't. It's a real struggle.
I was very lucky. I always tend to do shoots that don't have really long days. I don't know what it is, and always work with really nice directors.
So, advice for young DOPs.
Advice for young DOPs, I would say, just.
Can I interrupt you? Say, what's the best bit of advice you've ever been given?
Best bit was probably a similar kind of advice. The DOP I used to work for said to me basically that sometimes it's the mistakes that count. You know, you learn from your mistakes, and actually, not only do you learn from your mistakes, which is vitally important, which is the best advice I can give to people starting out is just make mistakes, because how else do you learn? Also, sometimes you film something as a mistake, and it ends up being the best bit of footage as well. So there's a bit of that as well.
On
it
film,
kind of goes hand in hand with each other. But so that was the best bit of advice: is don't be afraid to make mistakes and embrace your mistakes.
Easier to do on digital than film, right?
Yes.
Film, you fall off the cliff if you're not careful.
Yeah,
right?
sometimes even on true. But
depends on the job, right? If it's a commercial, you have to be more careful than if it's a music video, for example.
But then saying that, I watched some things on telly which are shot on film, well, not telly, on like TV commercials or short films.
Yeah.
And they're obviously shot by someone who hasn't got much experience shooting film, and it's because they've pushed the film because they don't quite know what they're doing. They've tried to pull it back. It's giving it a really beautiful filming quality. If you get film and expose it perfectly, then it just looks like digital. You know, you wouldn't be able to tell the difference. Potentially you can, but not really. So actually, sometimes mistakes, fucking about with what you've got, it works.
Have you had any scary experiences of being on set and sort of really feeling in your mind feeling that you technically fucked up? And
not really. I think so.
So
not
on film.
No, I think. I mean, in film, there's always things where I just that horrible feeling, isn't it? You know, waiting for the rushes to come back and stuff. But since I've been lighting, has always been digital stills cameras. So as a backup when I'm shooting film, I always used take stills at the same exposure just to take the same exposure just to see that you're exposing.
Expose them to the right area.
Yeah,
the light
really
meter
helps.
doesn't show you that.
Exactly. And it's a good way to learn the light meter as well, because if you've got time to use it. That's the other thing, having time to use light meters.
Do you use spot meters at all? Or
very rarely. No, I just tend to one of these DOPs that just looks for the eyepiece and lights for the eyepiece.
Yeah, same here. Yeah, that's what I used to do.
And that's why I love it. The iPad thing, just give me an iPad, I can
just play around until it feels right. Yeah.
So best thing I'd say, make mistakes, and also just be passionate about it. You know, we've got to love what we do, and that's the most important thing. And I think having that passion goes a long way, and people notice it.
Yeah.
You know, it makes you stand out.
How do you maintain a passion after having done it for so long?
Very good question. Don't know, quite often I don't. I would say just, you kind of, it depends. Again, it depends on the job. Some jobs it's really hard to be passionate about because it is just smart.
What's your favourite sort of moment on a film set? You know, like, is it when you look through the eyepiece and something unexpected happens, or is it like a certain kind of energy you get from the director? Is there any kind of
energy you get from a director? I think you know, when you have that nice energy. Yeah, I think that's it.
Yeah,
you know,
when you feel really, really valued, right?
Yeah, and you're working well together. That's a really lovely feeling, and you're bouncing off each other. Yeah, you know, pushing each other. Yeah, that's a lovely feeling. Yeah. Sometimes you get directors who are just a bit almost like timid, or just don't, or either that or really stubborn. Which is,
and then don't get the best out of you.
You reach a wall when you're working, and you're like, oh, it's a bit frustrating, but. Yeah, so that's good. Having a good relationship with the director is really rewarding.
And next question, what piece of technical equipment could you not live without?
Not a lot. I mean, we talked about lenses, and I think lenses are what make the image more so than the camera.
Yeah, I agree.
So I think the lenses are very important. But you can, as we said earlier, you can shoot a thing on, and I've actually shot stuff just on an iPhone. You can shoot stuff on an iPhone, shoot stuff on a GoPro, on a 5D type camera, shoot on anything. So there's no bit of equipment that I think you make do with what you've got.
Do you have a truth antenna with performance? Do you ever speak to the director about performance you might think is a dumb no?
As in
if you're seeing something through the camera and you think that there's something not right about the performance, would you mention anything to the director?
Depends on the relationship to the director, but yes, but I wouldn't say it publicly.
Yeah, you just whisper in there. Yeah. Do you tend to do that a lot? Do directors trust you when?
Yeah, I try to do it, and just depends. Sometimes you can sense they don't want.
Yeah, they don't want any input. Yeah,
but sometimes it works, and you just it's how you do it. As long as you do it,
What's the best bit of advice you were given in terms of the etiquette on the film set?
Best bit of advice is, well, to be honest, it's just experience from my point of view. You know, when I started out, being in a camera department is like being in the army. You know, camera boxes had to be laid out perfectly, spaced perfectly apart, and you'd queue up for lunch and get the DOP's lunch. I mean, I even got DOPs asked me to wash their car. I never did, but it was like being in. Yeah. You know, it was very, and it was good learning though. Yeah. You know, and I think
boot camp.
Yeah, it was kind of. So I think etiquette is just also letting people do their job. And
realising you're part of a team.
Yeah, definitely, 100%.
That took me a long time.
Yeah, it was part of a team and letting people do their job and just trying not to tread on toes.
Yeah. When do you lose your
helping? You got to help the art department in ways. You got just always.
When do you lose your patience on set?
What's the thing? They rarely do, to be honest. Unless they rarely do. I try not to be. I mean, impatient sometimes with people who just aren't very good at what they do, and it's just like, come on, for fuck's sake. But generally,
do you like
do I get frustrated? I don't know if I get frustrated or not.
How long?
I don't know.
No, it's fine. Just need to go back to the one question that you skipped over. What's your favourite equipment? You need to answer it as well.
Oh, I need to answer it.
Okay, so what is your favourite equipment?
Well, I can't really live without Kinoflow and Dado because I'm so used to their what they, it's like my eye has been programmed to what they can do, so I kind of know but having said that, when I go abroad I do have to use other light fixtures, but then it's like I use a kind of poor man's light stream by using little reflectors. Do you then carry your own kit with you sometimes for your jobs abroad? I actually own some of my own kit for the UK, and we have a different way of working in the UK than we do abroad.
Do you get them cheaper now you've mentioned them?
Sorry?
Do you get them cheaper now you've mentioned them?
I do get. They are going to give me some of their later lights.
Okay.
So
you'll have to lend them to me then.
Yeah, I will do. Yeah. So, but I mean, you're welcome to borrow anything anytime, man. Because I got. They're bringing some really lightweight fixtures out, which I'm really interested in. Which are kind of. Because, like I said, the most important thing for me is the colour science. They've got that bit right. So it's like they built it up from the ground up with the correct colours. Yeah. Isn't that? Because when you go to the shows, you just see all of these wonderful LEDs, but you're like, well, what's the technology of the LED? If it's a shitty LED, it doesn't matter how amazing the light looks. It's not going to give you the right colour.
Sky panels can be terrible.
Grey skin. That's why Roger Deakins never uses them. He was always like.
I tend to use a Vortex. With the cream sauce to make them.
Right. I don't know.
They're like these S60 size. But they're completely waterproof, so you can leave them outside. And when you take the diffusion off, they're really punchy. I mean, you can use them. And they're big LEDs like this big. Yeah. So they do give
a punch.
Punchy. I mean, it's like almost like a 2.5 or 1.8 maybe.
Wow.
But they do.
And what size is the panels?
Because they're lots of things, you do get a strange kind of shadow sometimes. Yeah. That's the thing.
Sort of slightly multiple
like
shadow.
Like a mini sort of Dino kind of thing. But, they're S60 size, so they're sort of 2x1, whatever it is.
Yeah. So do you use a combination of HMI tungsten and
LED? I mean, if I can try and go as much LED as I can, I will.
Just for the draw and the speed?
For the draw and the speed, exactly.
And
if these, because they're quite hard, they're handy. And then I sometimes use the kind of, the Hudson Spider thing, the Hudson Mozzie and Spider, the little reflectors you can do things with.
Right, I'm not familiar with those either.
And the stereos are very handy.
Kinoflow are releasing an Astera rivalry.
I saw over there.
There's some single tubes that they're releasing.
Yeah, they look quite interesting because they look like they glow all the way around or something.
Yeah, it's like, I think it's 320 or something. They have a little slight mounting point on the back. So you get the kind of back glow of them, which is nice. Yeah, because they've reintroduced a Kinoflow 4-bank system, but with those LEDs, so you get a kind of did you use a lot of Kinoflows when you started?
Back in the day, yeah. So they're that size, you mean?
Well, they're actually slightly bigger. These are what they call freestyles, but they're slightly bigger. It's like the size of a 4-foot 4-bank,
4 foot, yeah, fine, yeah, 4 foot 4-bank, yeah. That's about that, isn't it?
It's slightly smaller.
Oh right.
Yeah, there's one somewhere around here.
There's a whole rack of them downstairs, I noticed.
Yeah.
Probably never get used anymore, wouldn't it?
No, probably not. Maybe abroad, but it's all LED now, isn't it?
Yeah.
People want RGB now, don't they? Yeah. So it's very important to give, so like you said, that colour control, that media colour control. Well, thanks, man.
That's all right. No, it's a pleasure. It's quite fun.
Yeah, I thought it went really well.
Yeah.
Quite kind of. I mean, I've learned. It's always nice when I learn stuff, because then I know that the audience are going to learn a load of stuff as well.
Well, I hope it's a help to people listening, watching.
Whatever. Well, and if you can put some of your newer work on the website, because we'll get people to come. Because we did mention there was actually one last thing I could do. So just
I'll update my website.
Yeah.
Do that.
Because the other one we didn't talk about was I got just a real quick fire round.
Yeah, go on.
NHS, we are the NHS. So my question to you on that was how many days shoot?
That was quite a few scattered. It was like days scattered here and there because when we could get into hospitals. I think it was during COVID as well, so we kind of was tricky getting in.
And did you work with real workers and actors, or was it just real workers?
It was all real workers, I think. But there might have been the odd, because we did a couple. We did that main ad and a couple of other smaller ads where there were actors, but the actors were also nurses, but also did acting. But I think generally they're real people.
And the OVO Energy, what lenses? Do you remember what lenses you used on that? Because they had a really nice sort of creamy, narrowed up field. That one.
Yeah, they may have been my
Super Speed.
They may have been my contact Zeiss.
Ah, interesting.
I think because I know we're doing portraits and that, so we wanted to shoot full frame just because when you're inside, get that less distortion on wide. If you're doing a big wide or something.
Yeah.
So I think there may have been. We also had a Bolex just to do the odd little shot on Bolex on it as well. Squeezers in there.
Oh right, because there's a few jobs where you have found footage as well, like the NHS one.
Yeah,
that was original found footage, was it?
The NHS was original found footage.
Yeah.
I think
some of it. That would be hard.
I mean, some of it I've got these toy cameras, which are these Japanese little toy cameras called Haranzumis.
Yeah.
And they're now really collectible, I think. But they give a look of Super 8.
Oh right.
But they're just like these plastic little things.
Yeah.
And they're great. So sometimes I use them and people as to look like Super 8. And it works.
Wait, so that's a digital camera?
Yeah, it's like a crap little digital of shoots like the smallest resolution you can see.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. That's a good tip, actually.
Yeah. And also, everyone goes, oh yeah, we shoot Super 8. Like, get a Super 8 app for your phone, shoot that. No one knows the difference.
Yeah. It's really hard to tell these days.
Yeah,
I mean, I've really embraced digital now because I think it's better to put your energy into the writing and to, like you say, relation with the director and everything.
And that director, Ed Morris, who did that, and we also did a Royal Navy job with him, is very talented, very forward thinking. Again, same kind of, we're talking about Frank Budden and Chris Palmer earlier, same kind of background, came from advertising, was a very successful creative, but really thinks outside the box. So he's another one that always pushes to do things differently and just pushing an idea, very much an artist rather than a
bit like
commercial
Simon.
director.
And then
and Tony Kaye like that as well.
Yeah. We're trying to get Tony Kaye.
Yeah, I know. So.
Do you want to hear a quick story? So we sent him this ridiculously grovelly email, just telling him how he did change commercials in the 80s because he really did, right?
He did massively.
And then we referenced the past a little bit too much, so we got this like 3-word, all in capitals. I didn't change past nothing. I'm present doing this. Speaking a week, this is all in capitals, and so Tony Kaye.
He's his adverts. I mean, I remember thinking. Dunlop advert where they play
the Velvet Underground.
Velvet Underground, and you think, God, if you now tried to pitch a commercial for tires saying we want this guy dressed up in a gimp suit standing in the middle of a desert, and everyone goes, fuck off.
And hand painting all of her frames as well. I mean, that was just mental. Like the twister. I
worked on as an assistant of Eurostar advert when Eurostar first opened. Thomas Krieger was a director, and the same thing, shot all black and white. Freddie Francis lit it,
right?
I think. And Freddie Young,
I was getting confused as well. Freddie Young was
same thing. They hand painted all the frames.
But that looks amazing. Yeah. Do you like just another director that? Oh, we've got to wrap it up. I was going to mention Ivan Zakaria and Jan Velicki.
Yeah, I don't really know. I know of them, but
I just really love Jan Velicki's work. His website's really worth checking out. It's very, very, very filmic. And all those processes when they pull the grain out by doing positives and into negatives and really just fuck it up. And it's beautiful work. I don't know about you, but I've really enjoyed it.
Yeah, it's good. I think we could have gone on a lot longer.
We could have done.
We'd probably be here all night.
Part 2?
Yeah, part 2. Let's do a part 2.
Let's do a part 2, Because there's a few things that I'm sure Ellie will tell me the stuff we should have covered.
Yeah, we'll probably bore all the audience.
No, I think our followers are going to be really into the stuff you've been saying.
I hope it helps.
Yeah. Great. So thank you so much, man.
Cheers,
it's a real pleasure.
And action!